Wheel World first caught my attention when it popped up ever so innocuously on Xbox Game Pass. Admittedly, subscription services come bundled with several issues and existential concerns about the current model of game development. However, every once in a while they do help uncover a gem that would otherwise have gone unnoticed. The game, for all intents and purposes, is an open world cycling game with RPG elements. As protagonist Cat, you are tasked with finding a number of legendary parts for a mystical but rusty old bike. And as I type out these words, I realize that the story isn't great, but it doesn't have to be because it only exists to unleash you upon the surprisingly vast world of Wheel World. Starting you off in a small area, the game teases you into its gameplay mechanics over a course of different activities. This, to me, is a far more constructive exercise than laying all manner of controls and combos on the player right off the bat. It bears stating that Wheel World isn't the most complex of games, and the leisurely pace at which the admittedly few instructions were handed out hinted at the overall cozy nature of the game. The cel-shaded visuals, soothing soundtrack, courtesy composers John, Joel, June, and Orion, and chilled out tone of the game further this impression of coziness. All of this would have been for naught if gameplay had been a janky mess, but fortunately there's barely a whiff of jank to be found. It helps Wheel World's case a great deal that the controls are easy to pick up and cycle handles surprisingly well. I'd go so far as to say that I did not expect the maneuvering and physics in an indie title to be so refined. It was 15 minutes or so into the game and with my first race victory under my belt that the map opened up and I began to get a sense of the size of this playground. Spread across a variety of different terrains, hilly areas and vineyards to dusty countrysides and quaint city centers, Wheel World is packed with enough races, collectibles and quirky characters to keep you occupied for at least 7 hours or so. While it isn't necessary to win every race or collect every part, there are a handful of key races plus the aforementioned legendary parts that you need to collect in order to complete the game. But that's not where the heart and soul of Wheel World is to be found. Don't get me wrong, winning is winning. Never let it be said otherwise. And while it's quite a thrill to pull off that last second overtaking maneuver and in so doing unlocking all manner of wealth and bicycle parts, edge of the seat action and competition forms a very small albeit significant part of the game. Cruising along, discovering jumps, running into hidden bike parts, challenging random cyclists to impromptu two-person races and enjoying the sights and sounds is this game's USP. Finding parts, incidentally, is the RPG element alluded to earlier, and it lets you customize the build of your two-wheeler depending on the challenges you face. It's a cool little feature that adds great depth to what is fundamentally a simple game. I spent most of my 8ish hours in Wheel World simply exploring the world. It was an experience as soothing as a long drive on an empty and peaceful stretch of road, and I can't speak highly enough of the manner in which the mellow and EDM synth-heavy score complements the on-screen action. Each use of the boost goes perfectly in time with the beat, each gravel loosening sharp turn supported by a sustained note, and so on. I should clarify that this is not a rhythm game by any stretch, but after a long enough session it almost feels like it is. For a game that only costs 900 rupees on Xbox and, strangely, 1581 rupees on PlayStation, it would be a bit unfair to spend too much time nitpicking, although I'd be remiss not to point out a few minor foibles. I mentioned that the game had some quirky characters and I'd go as far as to call them colourful as well. Unfortunately, they are propped up by some truly lazy writing. Even their one-liners that could have been snappier or more interesting are frankly quite pedestrian. Additionally, the inability to skip lines of old dialogue when you are returning to meet someone for the second or third time kills the immersion. On the cycling front, while the bike handles well and controls are basic and functional, I ran into a truly annoying, albeit rare, issue with Cat turning 180 degrees on some sharp turns. The problem would arise when I was attempting to hit the brakes and turn. 95% of the time, Cat's turning radius would be perfect and she'd be on the next stretch before I knew it. But for that pesky 5% of the time, she'd inexplicably turn so hard that the bike would be facing the wrong way, costing me precious seconds. In summation, Wheel World is a no-brainer. If you're into open world games that allow you space and time to explore at your leisure, you'll find plenty of value for your money. If you're a cycling aficionado, well, it's pretty much a must play. And if you need a break from the current cycle of massive AAA games with equally hefty price tags, I can't recommend this title highly enough. Is it perfect? No, but you should play it anyway.